What's up?
Your experience here, you support the opposition from Iran, but how this opposition can win? How they can win and change the government in Iran? Is there any chance?
Well, you know, it's a wonderful place to ask the question here in Warsaw, Poland, because you know, 25 years ago or so, they could ask me the same question about war. In 1988. You could have asked me the same question about Poland. How could that group called Solidarity, and how could they ever overcome a regime backed by one of the great military powers in the world, the Soviet Union? Well, in a couple of months, all of a sudden, the Soviet Union was gone, the Berlin Wall was down, Poland was free. These things happen quickly when they happen. People do not live in oppression forever. They rise up against it. They did here in Poland. It took a long time, 10 years, 20 years, but then when it happened like that. The same thing is going on in Iran right now. If you pay attention to Iran, since the end of 2017, there have been over 160 major protests in 160 different cities in Iran. The regime has cracked down on them. The regime has been oppressive. The regime has killed people, both on the street and executed. The protests get bigger. They're stronger now than they were then. The resistance movement is now way beyond just NCRI. There are many groups involved. So the regime is reacting the way these oppressive regimes always react. Instead of liberalizing when there's a protest, they become more violent, they become more vicious, and that builds up the protest. So at some point, they're going to overthrow the regime. I can't tell you when. I don't have enough internal intelligence to tell you that. And I'm not sure even if I did, I'd be able to tell you that.
But you, as a US, have some tools you can support these forces, opposition?
Well, as the people here tell us, they don't want our military support. They can do it on their own. They want our moral support. They want our political support. If they should result in an overthrow, they want our help and our support to establish a new government. It would all be a peaceful overthrow the way it was with the Soviet Union.
So are you here at the invitation of the MEK? Or?
Yes, I'm here with this group that I've been with for 11 years.
The MEK?
I've been
or the NCRI?
Representing them, NCRI. I've been representing them and related groups in the United States for over 11 years.
Why is it necessary to fight with Islamic regime in Iran in a global politics? Why is so necessary?
Why is it necessary to isolate Iran and try to change Iran?
Yes.
They're murderers, they're killers. They just had a group arrested in Brussels, in Germany. 4 people that were going to bomb a gathering of 100,000 people in Paris. They had a group arrested in Albania that was going to bomb a group of about 10,000 that were gathered in Tirana. I mean, I can go on and on. They killed American soldiers in Iraq. They executed 130 people last year for totally specious reasons. They undermine the government of Lebanon. They're undermining the government of Syria. They're attempting to destroy Israel. They're vowing to destroy Israel. They're threatening to destabilize my own country. I mean, there are 100 reasons why Iran should be isolated. The regime should be changed, or it should change its policies. But we shouldn't tolerate this any longer. When they come on the soil of a free country like France with 4 people, one of whom is an Iranian diplomat, with bombs and plans to bomb a gathering of 100,000 people, that's when you have to say, no more, we're not going to tolerate this any longer. This regime has to go.
Why this?
What do you expect from Germany?
I expect that Germany is going to support a free and democratic Iran and oppose the regime in Iran, which is the biggest sponsor of terrorism in the world. I do not know how in good conscience any free government can do any business with Iran. Iran murders people, they kill people, they execute people without trial, they give women no rights, they give other religions no rights, and they foment violence all throughout the Middle East. Everyone knows, including Germany, that Iran is the #1 state sponsor of terrorism. Explain to me, if they're the #1 state sponsor of terrorism, how can you do business with them?
So are you being paid to be here by the?
I represent the MEK. They're a client of mine.
Okay, yeah. So that's one concept. So you're here as
I've had that relationship with them for 11 years, and
so you're being paid
the terms of it they have to discuss. Like any relationship, it's confidential. They have to discuss it. I do a lot of work for NCRI, including related groups in the United States, pro bono. for free.
I'm just wondering about the time, because you're obviously here at a time when the US for the last few weeks has been trying to suggest that this is not an anti-Iran conference, and you're here calling for regime change. Does that not put them in a slightly difficult position?
Pardon?
Does that not put them in a slightly, the government in a slightly difficult position?
No, I think it just means we want to achieve the same result, but by a different means. I think our government legitimately believes that you can change the policy of Iran. If that's successful, I'd be the happiest man imaginable. My point is that long before this government, I advocated regime change. I don't know, going back to 2009, when Ahmadinejad was in power, I first believed that we had to have regime change. They would never change, and therefore the regime had to change. I don't understand how a group of maniacal religious fanatics will ever turn into the leaders of a democratic government. It just doesn't make sense to me. Look, stranger things have happened. It's the policy of our government, official policy of our government, to advocate for policy change. So yes, there's a slight difference between me, the Americans who are part of this, and the view of the Obama and now the Trump administration. But we have the same aim. We just see different ways of getting there.
Mr. Giuliani, can I just ask?
Yeah?
There have been some allegations about the MEK, particularly from some newspapers in the UK, The Guardian, a television station called Channel 4, just about their camp in Albania and that
They what?
they have a base in Albania.
A base.
Yeah, like
A military base?
a compound in Albania where there's activities and there's MEK people.
There's
some unsavory allegations about that place.
Well, I'm sure there are, because the propaganda machine of Iran is endless. I've been to the city that they're building in Tirana, and it's not a military compound. I can assure you of that. I didn't see any military equipment. I didn't see any tanks. I didn't see any soldiers. They're
So
basically
no concerns from you about their activities
I think
there, or their
the
human rights
American military
record?
will tell you that. The MEK gave up their arms to the United States military in 2003 at Camp Ashraf. And the United States government gave each one of those people a certificate guaranteeing them protection by the United States in return for surrendering their arms. And at that point, they were defended by the United States. And every military leader of Ashraf has told me that they were one of the most constructive and one of the most helpful groups to us when we were in Iraq. And were totally non-combatant, but did assist us with intelligence and other activities. So I have to believe that that's propaganda. Also, the Albanian government threw out the Iranian ambassador.
It's propaganda, but there's also been U.S. government reports that have stood up some.
There's absolutely no credible allegation that there's any military capacity for MEK. They have none. That's complete nonsense. There's no military.
Not military, but other activities that.
Well, I don't know about other activities. Intelligence activities? I imagine there are. I mean, intelligence activities in America would be protected by the First Amendment. If you mean gathering information, sending information in, the way the Voice of America
The
has
allegations to do with brainwashing and people being
ridiculous.
held there against their will.
That's ridiculous. Nobody's being held there against their will. I've been there. I've talked to the people. Nobody's being held there against their will. That's a false allegation emanating from the Iranian propaganda machine and the people who were sympathetic with the Iranian machine. I mean, why do these European governments want to do business with Iran? Why would you want to do business with a terrorist regime? Money. Iran's got a lot of money, and a lot of people want to make money, and money becomes more important than principle.